I just want people to listen, to see what I've seen. War is a machine, and people of the world are the fuel, but we don't have to be. If we stop feeding it, it stops running. None of the politicians around the world can be trusted. The same old playbook since the beginning of time. Politicians, they'll push for wars that only they want from the comfort and safety of behind a desk. The same men and women who are more suited to a pen than a gun create wars for the poor to die in, while they happily sit at home reaping the rewards. I can assure you none of your political class will be by your side as you fight for their wealth if war comes to any of us. Civilians all around the world don't hate anyone else or any other country. Most people have family and friends now in countries all over the world. It's our politicians who cause this, and we let them, aided by MSM and the top brass of law enforcement and armies of the world. To me, war is not glory, it's not medals, it's widows crying. It's mothers burying their children. It's men and women returning home from conflicts broken and scarred for life. If we'd done to our neighbors what politicians are allowed to do around the world, we'd be in jail for life or receive the death penalty. The laws that our politicians control are for us because they certainly don't abide by them. They blow up everything that the people like us at the bottom fight to stop. They provide the wars for your children to die in and walk away scot-free. They face no accountability for millions of deaths they cause. Then when wars are done, politicians will all shake hands, smile and laugh. They'll wine and dine like best friends until the next war they want, enjoying the fine life on the misery of the deaths of innocent people. At the bottom, you have real men and women like me who want to make a difference. Men and women who want peace, helping the world, while the ones at the top control and destroy everything at their will. I've experienced war in my life since the age of 8. I've seen it all firsthand. I've served as a peacekeeper with the Irish Defence Forces myself, losing family and friends to wars along the way. They award Nobel Peace Prizes too, but yet we have no peace in this world. We at the bottom fight for peace, while they, our politicians at the top, play games with peace or with our lives just for their wealth, control, and power. They will never be in the dirt anywhere near a front line, but they'll send men to take your children there. Anyone who supports any side in war is a fool. If only people turned their anger on politicians around the world for starting wars, instead of taking sides and fighting with each other, the world would be a better place. Politicians keep people divided and fighting while they get away with murder, literally. European leaders are currently pushing for war in Europe, and we are sitting back and letting them. They do this because they have no fear of the people holding them to account. Remember, we are many compared to them. Wars don't happen without the cooperation of the many. What would governments do if the soldiers who fight and the civilians who back them said, "We are not willing to fight or die for you anymore"? What then? They won't go fight themselves. Politicians and officers set the stage for wars, but it's the rest of us who fill the roles they write. And it's the innocent who suffer most. It's war politicians always seem to be aiming for. As far as I can see, none of them want peace. I'm not naive. War's been around forever, but I dream of a day when the lower ranks in armies around the world say no. When civilians, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, stand with them and say no more of our kids will die for corrupt politicians. If we all stood together across all borders, what could they do if most of the world stood together for peace? A few rogue nations might cling to their guns, but they'd drown under the weight of a world that's done fighting. It's not crazy, it's just hard. Probably harder than anything ever achieved on this earth, but it is possible if people stand together. I was 11 when I stood at my uncle's funeral, a casualty of a landmine in Lebanon, and saw the world for what it is: cruel, unfair, and run by people who don't bleed for their choices. But they don't mind getting rich on the suffering of our people. We could stop them any time if we were not so divided. Not many people around the world are speaking up for our people. None of you are speaking up for the security and safety that our politicians are supposed to provide. It's time to stop treating these war profiteers like celebrities. We should demand the removal of massive money from politics for a better world. Maybe then we would get people who care about our people and not money. Sometimes it takes courage and commitment to stand up and say what needs to be said. Sometimes you have to go against everyone and everything you once stood for. I swore to my grandmother, after she lost her son, that I'd find a way to bring peace to the world. At 11, I didn't know how, but I knew why. Because watching my family break, I believed no one in the world should have to live life like this because of others. 35 years later, I still fight for peace in a world that wants wars.